Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jerry Sansing with another edition of South Texas News and Reviews. This is on a beautiful Saturday, December 15th, 2018. The wind's finally laid down. This is on the air on Public Access Channel 10, and I think it's 1303 on Spectrum now, and I can't remember what it is for AT&T. But anyway, the air times are Tuesday at 9 p.m. and Wednesday at 9 p.m. My email address is gsansing, S-A-N-S-I-N-G, at gmail.com, and this is available on YouTube. If you just go into YouTube and put Jerry with a J, J-E-R-R-Y, Sansing, then you can get this, and you can also get the what's going on in Corpus Christi and the voice of Ed Bennett. Anyway, I'll be right back. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I will show you this. I try not to be too disgusting with this, but I use this as an example of taxpayers. That young lady there holding the bag, that's what taxpayers get around this burg with our esteemed elected officials and our quote unquote city and other employees around here. But anyway, so that's what we get. We get we get stuck holding the bag all the time. And I can't think of a more appropriate picture than that one. That pachyderm excrement just tickles me. Anyway, now that I've disgusted you, I'll be right back. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the camera's rolling and the lights are on. I'm going to go around and take my place here in the hot seat. And we'll have a few discussions about some of our local not problems, but just I try to update you on what's going on. And this show, the South Texas News and Reviews, airs at 9 o'clock on Tuesday night and 9 o'clock on Wednesday night on Public Access Channel 10. So if you've got Grande, Spectrum, or AT&T, then you can get this. I think AT&T, I don't know what channel they use for that one. You'd have to look it up, and then I think Spectrum now is something like 1303 or something like that. It used to be Channel 10 along with the Grande Channel 10. I'm a little dry, so I may have to take a sip of that. I drink a lot of cranberry juice. I guess I was raised in cranberry country for a short time, and it's good stuff. Now, I am the president of the Corpus Christi Taxpayers Association, and we've got some severe problems here in Corpus Christi, not only with the city, the county, but also Del Mar College and a lot of the CCISD stuff. And those are all taxpayer-supported institutions, and they leave a lot to be desired around here. And I'm not so shy, I won't say something about it, because I'm sick and tired of having my money thrown down the sewer or sitting there holding the bag like that taxpayer was behind that elephant, that pachyderm. Okay, so I don't mind saying things, about what I think. And I'm sick and tired. I won't talk about national news, but I am so damn sick and tired of politicians acting like a bunch of squabbling kids out on the nursery school playground that I could just scream. Okay. And it's costing you billions and billions and billions, trillions of dollars to have that going on, folks. So I've started writing my elected officials at the national level and at the state level. They waste your money, and until you work up enough, I guess, mad to go and say something about it. It's like Joe O'Brien said, who was a very dear friend for a long time. He was the one that really set up the Taxpayers Association here in town, and he said that at the end of all of his talks that silence is not the answer, and that's just all too true today. Now I'm going to start like I did with the other show, and it's the Naval Air Station Corpus Christi, may be renamed after Bush. President Bush, H.W. Bush, was a very, very patriotic individual. He was a naval aviator that got shot down, came back, and so forth and so on. And I remember as a young child, my dad was a World War II veteran. He was in the Army Air Force, or Air Corps, I guess they called it at that time. Shot down in a P-51 outstrafing trains in a railhead. It was a munitions train. They wanted to blow it up. He got shot down. The French Underground captured him, thank goodness. Not captured him, but we got him out of the trees he was stuck in with his parachute. And he spent about 80 days plus out shooting retreating Germans over there with the French underground. Okay, so he had some stories, and then he also flew Korea, and he flew 350 missions in Vietnam before he retired at the ripe old age of 50. And I'll go on with that. He maintained and rebuilt a bunch of World War II aircraft with the Commemorative Air Force, and flew until he was 87 years old, and then he passed at 92. So anyway, my hat's off to President Bush, H.W. Bush, and I sure hope they will rename a Naval Air Station Corpus Christi after that man. Naval aviators were part of my life too. They trained with Dad in the Air Force. Okay, now what I'm going to do is get into some stuff concerning Del Mar College. That place, as far as I'm concerned, is going to hell in a handbasket, not only academically, but they're skinning you for an awful lot of money over there needlessly. I've been an employee there. This August it will be 30 years. I can't believe I retired from industry that long ago. And I've enjoyed teaching up until the last 2 years, or about 2 years. I have a gutless, spineless department chair. I've got a dean that's in love with some of the people that do most of the talking over there and lying and so forth and so on. So there are certain privileged individuals that are able to scream and yell at female secretaries and female instructors over there, professors, and get away with it. And it's just a crime over there. The place is going to hell in a handbasket. And they're right on the heels of Coastal Bend College, as far as I can tell. And that disturbs me deeply, because when I came to Del Mar, one of the draws that I had here to come here, other than some other place, was the Del Mar College's reputation at the time. It was an academic giant. And now, everybody's down on Mr. Guy Watts, Dr. Watts, excuse me, and for his statement that Del Mar is sinking into academic mediocrity. I coined that phrase on this show many years ago, and then they're down on him for saying that. So, why don't you get down on me, Del Mar? I'd love to have you go over there and change my locks like you did my best friend, Bruce Olson, who's right on the verge of, I'm going to talk about it. It's the crime over there. And we've got a president that hires nothing but bullies, and he believes in bullying over there. And I've got article after article over here in a file on bullying that states that that's due to the administrative philosophy. Hire people to go over there and try to bully people around. I'm here. You've got my number. You've got my address, Dr. Escamilla. So have at it, buddy. Okay? My opinion has just gone real sour since the first days you were there at Del Mar. Okay, now I'm going to address a few things. My vice president of the board of the Taxpayers Association is Jack Gordy. He's been president in the past and so forth. He was there with Joe O'Brien. Joe knew President H.W. Bush very well. He was also a naval aviator back in the World War II, and I had a great amount of respect for him. Like I say, silence is not the answer. So I'm not going to run silent. Now, one of the things we've got a problem with at Del Mar College, a severe problem, is the fact that you are, as a taxpayer, you are privileged enough and you are due information about how tax money is spent. Okay, and your rights go through the Texas Public Information Act, so you can request certain information. Now, Del Mar, and to the city is not as bad as Del Mar, but Del Mar is horrible about answering those requests because they're always trying to cover stuff up. And it reminds me, and I'll tell this story one more time, about a Manhattan alley cat. I was in Manhattan for a major scientific meeting. I went over and saw a play on Broadway. We had a little bit of time one day. I was walking back to my hotel. I was not too concerned about jaywalking there in Manhattan. So I was standing there where an alleyway led out to the sidewalk on a street between two big rows of buildings on either side street. And I heard this scratching on the sidewalk. So I looked around and I couldn't see anything, and then I looked down within about 4 feet from me, and there was this cat sitting there trying to cover up a mess he'd made with anything that he could find, dust and so forth, on that sidewalk. So that's what I say, a lot of people over here make big messes and then they try to cover it up, and they act like the Manhattan Alley Cat. You just can't cover it up. Okay? So they get stuck. Now what we've done is we're very interested in the amount of money that has been spent on law case, okay, concerning a dear friend of mine, Dr. Bruce Olson. He was locked out in January of 2013 because he had filed an EEOC complaint against Delmar for obvious things. And they went over and changed his lock, and he's still in court fighting it. Now the court here was on Delmar's side, so they sided and said, no, he's not, he's got to retire and he's guilty and so forth and so on. So then Dr. Olson, appealed that to the 13th Court of Appeals, and the 13th came back and said, no, he's not retired. He's still fully employed at Delmar College. You've done him wrong. Then Delmar College, after tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars, they appealed that to the Supreme Court of Texas. And the Texas Supreme Court agreed with the 13th Court of Appeals and said, hey, he's not retired. Pay the man. Okay? Then it went back to court, and a jury awarded him a certain amount of money. So here's Delmar. They started this business of trying to spend even more tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars to appeal that court case. And it's just to cover up, the people that screwed up at Delmar College. They exemplify Manhattan Alley Cats over there, okay? And they're spending your money to do it, folks, to try to pull their butt out of a fire. And I'm sick and tired of it. But anyway, we've tried on several occasions to get information about, locking out policies and all the rest of this stuff, which is tied up. I wrote 8 Public Information Act requests trying to get to know what they could and couldn't do. In the case of Dr. Olson and me, I'm next for the lock changing, I'm sure. Okay, but they won't give it to me. They've requested an opinion from the Attorney General's office, and that cost the Delmar College taxpayers a hell of a lot of money to have that overpriced attorney system, that attorney group out of Austin to come down here and write letters and trying to bail these people out of the fire. So Mr. Gordy's jumped in there, and he wanted a list of all the payments that was made to this lawyer to write the Texas Attorney General asking if Delmar could withhold the information that Gerald A. Sansing had requested. And it was the Graves Daughtry up there. They put him off, okay? And then he's written Delmar College. He went to one of the board meetings, I think it was here December 11th, and he'd sent him a letter. And I want to read some of this to you. This is a request for public information and is being made in accordance with the Texas Public Information Act. Okay? I hereby request the following information. I want a list of all the payments that was made to this lawyer or law firm, Graves, Daughtry, Heron, and Moody, to write the Texas Attorney General asking if Delmar College could withhold the information that Gerald A. Sansing had requested. The signature on the latest letter to the Texas Attorney General is William Christian. Okay, that he is an attorney there with Graves, Daughtry, Heron, and Moody. I want you to include the amount that the Delmar College paid for the time they spent on the telephone regarding what Delmar College wanted in the letter. Okay, and then in red, I want the list to include all payments that was paid by Delmar College from January 1, 2018 to November 30th, 2018. I also want to include the amount that Delmar College paid to have them write the letters to the Attorney General for Delmar College. I want the list to include all payments that was paid by Del Mar College from January 1, 2018 to November 30th, 2018. The letters could have and should have been written by the Del Mar College attorney if he cared about the taxpayers in the Del Mar district. There is no justifiable reason for having someone else to write the letters to the Attorney General, the Texas Attorney General. Why is it that this Board of Regents will not, in capital letters, insist that the Del Mar attorney do what he was hired to do? Well, that's true. That's Mr. Augustin Rivera. He used to be just with a different law group around town. Then he's now the general counsel at Del Mar College, making a pretty good living. Okay, that's your tax money, folks. And yet they hire this Mr. Christian with Graves Daughtry out of Austin for over $400 an hour for every hour they spend either on the telephone or picking their nose or even driving down here. Mr. Christian billed, I think it was close to 10 hours to drive down here from Austin and back. What can I say? So, Mr. Gordy, I appreciate it, and I hope you get that. And he also found out through Public Information Act request from the city. City of Corpus Christi has 26 salaried attorneys on staff at all given times, including the city attorney, the top dog over there, Mr. Miles Risley, who I think is, he's worthless, okay? Sue me, Mr. Risley, I can prove that. Now, then he found out that within a 1-year period of time, which ended, I think, in June or July of this year, back from June 17, that the city has paid outside attorneys, sitting there with 26 full-timers, plus the city attorney. He is one of those 26, okay? He makes a real good salary down there. But just the outside payments to outside attorneys, not any of the city attorneys, folks, was $2.9 million. It was just under $3 million. I think it was $2,918,880.17. Okay? That's a lot of damn money. Why? Don't we have attorneys that can handle this stuff? What are we doing? Taking care of our attorney buddies. And a lot of those were out of town. Most of them were out of town. Okay. Now, what we also have is there was an opinion back in November 20th. It says what we can learn from State Board of Education. So we've got a bunch of lunkheads up there at the State Board of Education who decide what goes into history books and English books and that type of stuff. And then here's this was from the Caller Times. They took issue. And one of them was they had an issue with Moses being put in the U.S. history book. Okay? And they said, why? Okay? And then there's one about learning how to use propaganda, or to recognize propaganda. But the board wanted to put Hillary Clinton's history in there, along with, who else was that? There were two people in there. Oh, Helen Keller. Okay? So they're down on the sanctimonious people up there at the State Board of Education. And I know that the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board has really fallen on their faces by keeping up with what goes on at Del Mar College. I mean, it's an abomination over there, folks. Like I say, I coined the phrase academic mediocrity years before Dr. Guy Watts took over that when he was a regent, and they persecuted him over there for that statement. So why don't you go ahead, Del Mar College, and put the blame where it belongs? It's how you're sitting right here. I've seen the downfall and the slide into academic mediocrity by Del Mar College since 1989 in August when I came here. I retired from industry. I wanted to see my kids more than one day out of the month in the daylight. I loved to fish. My dad was from Bay City, Texas, and I enjoyed that many years up there in the summers with my granddad and my dad fishing in salt water. So, and my bride, who's now deceased, was an avid fisher person with me too. So I miss her dearly. And these are dedicated to my mom, Miss Connie, my deceased wife, Miss Lynn, and Miss April 23. And I'll get into her story later. Okay. All right. And then we had the Brightwood College for profit shut down. College closing local campuses. Brightwood students left with few answers. That's what happens when you get, for-profit institutions of higher learning. Okay, and I know some good people that were over there, folks. I do. Mostly my students are pre-allied health students, and then I've got pre-med, pre-biology, pre-vet, and so forth with the majors class. But I had to apologize to everybody, and I'm not going to make an apology. I just made for the statement. It has been rumbled around town that I got sick and tired of a gutless, spineless department chair, okay, who allows the privileged ones to run all over the top of him, and then as condoned by the dean of the arts and sciences over there, as condoned by the vice president of instruction, and I guess as directed by our esteemed president, who is a bully, okay? And so I'm no longer going to teach microbiology classes over there because I don't know what I'm doing. I can't teach it right according to my peer group over there. So I'm going to let them go ahead and suffer with that, okay? So they can put up with all that crap going over there. Committees decide college administrations with computers closing in. There was an article back on the 3rd of December in the Caller Times about the crunch, and they're hoping that the admissions will not be computerized and they go still the good old-fashioned way. I had a problem with one of the recommendations for a person that applied to law school, and their organization now, what they do is they computerize all of this. So you write a recommendation and you try to send it in if it'll go to their computer, and you have to go through all this BS. That's bovine excrement, folks, and rigmarole. And then when their computers don't take that, then the students have to suffer. So that's the law school deal. So I had to certify return receipt a letter the other day. I've tried to fax them, I've tried to email them, I've tried to call them. Nobody will answer. So I'm not going to let that student down, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that the letter goes in and that she is not penalized for that because they have such a crap system. But that's what they're doing these days, is they've got central places for people to put in the various recommendations and so forth. It's a tragedy, folks. This whole academic system's going to hell in a handbasket, I'm afraid. Texas Tech's Amarillo School could offset veterinarian shortage. I did not know that there were vast shortages in the state of Texas for large animal vets. Okay? So I guess Texas Tech in Amarillo is going to open up and support the Texas Tech School of Veterinary Medicine in Amarillo. Will be the second veterinary school in the state and the only one that will focus on large animals. Now, I did a lot of research when I was in graduate school. I went to a school that has probably one of the best veterinary schools in the country. It's called Auburn University in Auburn, Alabama. And I did a lot of work with my research on microbial toxins and so forth with the vets in the wild world of toxicology and so forth and so on. And I did take a couple of the graduate courses that are run through the School of Veterinary Medicine there, microbiology classes. But then again, when I get to Corpus Christi, I don't know anything about microbiology. So, I'm just going to go ahead and step aside and let the award-winning microbiologists and the guys that really know how to do it the right way, they're going to teach it the right way, is what they profess to their students. Then, have at it, folks. I hate to do that to the allied health people here, and I've got 30-year history, 29-and-a-half-year history of teaching micro, and I don't think I've got too many people that didn't appreciate the rigor that I put into that. But I'm not a modern award-winning Eileen Creighton award-winning microbiologist, and somebody that hadn't won awards but thinks he should. So I'll leave it at that. But I think that's a great idea, Texas Tech, to do that. You've got a good reputation in your animal sciences and agriculture in general up there, especially animal and food sciences. So I'm all for that, and if I can help you out, I've worked with Purdue vets in toxicology for quite some time. Dr. William Carlton, he was a DVM PhD, and he had the Department of Toxicology and Pathology at Purdue University, and Purdue University is no slackers. And then I got tickled the other day because Auburn hadn't done well this year in the collegiate football. And I did a lot of work there at Purdue off and on when I was in the industry. I'd drive from Terre Haute, Indiana, Commercial Solvents Corporation, up to Purdue in West Lafayette, and on the weekends, and do some research with Dr. Carlton up there. And he had all vet students in his graduate program. They had to have a DVM before he took them into a PhD program, and they're one of the best toxicology groups in the universe. But Auburn's going to play Purdue, I guess, in a bowl game here shortly. So I don't know which side of the coin to try to root for on that one. All right, now this is called the Foghorn News. Okay, this is Del Mar College Foghorn News. This is the one that Del Mar College disavowed any knowledge of and for when a bunch of pornographic cartoons came out last year in this rag. Okay. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and quote this. This was in the one from, December the 3rd of 2018. Students find new test tactics. Professors disapprove. Now, before I read this, I want to let you know that I spent a lot of summers and a lot of time in the interim time during the semesters on an academic dishonesty and plagiarism committee. We were trying to write up the rules and regulations and the perils and the whatever penalties there are for students that plagiarize in particular, and the ones that will cheat in class. Okay? Now, this administration has been sitting on that for months and months and years now. They will not implement that because they don't want to hurt any feelings over there with the students. If students complain, then they are taken front and center and put in the spotlight. And if the student complains, heaven knows they've got to be right because they're smarter than the professors are. Now, I don't have a big problem with plagiarism. That's when students take an English class or whatever, and then they sit and they go online and they use somebody else's academic and intellectual property to turn in essays and papers. Well, the professors have the ability to check on that and make sure that they can prove that somebody has been plagiarizing that. And it runs rampant through there, folks. Okay? Now, I've also been on everybody's back over there and told them I wanted to participate in a faculty rights program and policy. Faculty at Del Mar College have no rights. As we know from the Bruce Olson case, which is costing, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe millions of dollars in damages to Del Mar College. And they're going to have to pay him off one of these days. And they've already spent an enormous amount of money on appealing the judgments from the different courts and so forth. Okay? Now, the reason I mentioned that, academic dishonesty, there were 9 of us, I think, on that committee, and we're all disgusted big time that the administration at Del Mar College has been ignoring us and then tried to put us off, and I don't think they want the damn policy. To tell you the truth, that's my personal opinion. I can't speak for the other members of that committee, but we spent one hell of a lot of time and effort to write one. We looked at similar policies all over the country. We wrote what we thought was a very, well thought out, well written, but knew we can't get any administrators off their, dead butts over there and get it done. There's always an excuse. But in this Foghorn on December the 3rd, it says, students find new test tactics, professors disapprove. Cheating isn't always an easy A, just a way to get the F. Okay? Now, more than 85% of college students have cheated in school according to a 2017 study. Okay? Many professors at Del Mar will give the student a failing grade if caught cheating. Assistant Professor of English Emily Shearer Stewart is one of them. I've done that, folks. And let me just back up. I tell my students right up front the first day, I said, you're going into the allied health professions, And in my majors class, a lot of them are going into dentistry and medical school and vet school and so forth. And I said, for all of you that do that, I said, would you like to go and take your family or you or your loved ones and so forth to a physician or a nurse or a technician, surge tech or whatever over there, respiratory technology person who cheated their way through school? Do you want to put your family in that peril and yourself? And, I said, so if you catch you cheating in here, you're out of here. I'll flunk you and make sure you don't do anything but mop floors the rest of your life, because that to me is just the ultimate slap in my face to cheat in my classes. Okay? All right. Many professors at Del Mar will give the student a failing grade if caught cheating. Assistant Professor of English Emily Shearer Stewart is one of them. I quote, I have a conversation with a student first, Stewart said. Being in English, cheating in my class usually involves plagiarism. That means that they have gone into the computer and pulled somebody else's, intellectual property out and just copied their paper, and then they don't cite it. Stewart said she checks to see if it was an accident by the student not understanding how to cite proper source material. Okay? There are a lot of things that go into that conversation, Stewart said. If someone has cheated, my policy is I give them a 0 on the assignment. They have to revise this assignment in order to remain eligible to pass the course, but they will not get credit for the assignment. Okay? Ken Rozier, chairman of the Department of Art and Drama, surprisingly has had students cheat in his sculpture class. I know Ken very well, but I'm going to have to, after that, I haven't talked to him since then, I'm going to have to ask him how that works. My classes are based on object making, and I know when the student presents work that is not theirs, Rozier said. After working with students for 16 weeks, I pretty much know what they are capable of. Okay? And that's true. Pardon me, I'm dry today. Rozier said he calls students on their cheating, or calls them out on their cheating. I tell them that I don't think it's theirs, Rozier said. I'm not that vindictive, but in that instance, their grade will be diminished accordingly. There's a policy you can use to change a student with that kind of cheating, but I've never had to do that. Okay, I've had a couple of them that cheat. Okay, and then I'll go into my producer, Dr. Janelle Bennett, on the What's Going On show, and students that complained that she was too tough. And Del Mar College spent a lot of time and money trying to force her out, and finally did. Or I guess she settled out, but that was horrifying, that Del Mar College is going to stand behind students that complain and cheat and so forth and so on. The forensic accounting from Kessler International in its 2017 study found that more than 75% of students admitted to, and then I'm going to have to go to page 5 here and find this, if it's indeed on that page in here. There we go. Copying someone else's assignment word for word. A Del Mar College drama major admitted to cheating last semester on an essay. Okay? I was up all night trying to figure out how I was going to finish my history essay, said the student who wished to remain anonymous. I wonder why. I ended up looking up a bunch of summaries on Ronald Reagan during the AIDS crisis and pieced them together while using a thesaurus to change some of the words. Lord, just do your work. When asked if he still cheats, he said no, but it's not impossible. I'm not saying I'll ever cheat again, he said. I just haven't needed to since that one time. I just make sure I don't procrastinate so that way, if I guess it won't come down to me cheating. A psychology major also said she cheats regularly during her math course. I sit in the back of the room on purpose to cheat, the psychology major said. I'm terrible at math, but my major requires 1 semester of math. I usually write the equations I don't remember on my bottled water, or sometimes I'll write them on my wrist with my watch covering them up. While cheating does not seem like it will end anytime soon, most students don't see anything bad in cheating. The survey found that more than 95% of students had never been caught. I get it, cheating is bad, the psychology major said, but if I get caught, that's on me. For the meantime, though, I'm still going to cheat. So that's what really makes me wonder. You know, I try to keep an eye on people, and I tell my students, if you see somebody cheating in there, they're going to cheat their way into one of the programs before you get there. So let me know, and I'll damn sure take care of it. Okay. Then we've got new classrooms to include high-tech spaces. Now, Del Mar College has skinned you people out there for hundreds of millions of dollars for nothing. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you right up front that a survey of the classroom space usage at Del Mar College has been conducted. I think it was done by Del Mar itself. I doubt that they'll ever see the light of day unless somebody says something about it. Me. But less than 35% of the time, classrooms are vacant. Or, excuse me, they're vacant except under 35% utilization. And we're building all these new buildings on east, west, and then now we're going to put up a probably $500 million campus on West Campus over there on Swampland. And somebody called me today and said there's a trailer out there and they're running soil tests, and we drove by there and there's still big puddles of water with egrets walking around and storks and you know, all kinds of waterfowl. And I said, yep, without your knowledge, several years ago, Del Mar College Board of Regents, as led by Mr. Trey McCampbell, spent over $60,000 per acre for 96 acres of ground out there, swampland, to build this great big huge campus that will house ultimately 20,000 students. Now I think they've cut that back down to 15,000, but we don't have 15,000 students at Del Mar College East, West, and Northwest campus now. And we're building $157 million worth of buildings, space that we don't need. And I said on the other show, they're not taking care of the facilities over there. It's not Del Mar College, it's Deferred Maintenance College. And if you go through some of those buildings, it's a crime. They don't have lit, you know, they won't replace lights in the hallways over there, it's particularly in the Coles building. At night, I've seen people slip. I almost fell down the other day. I have night classes over there. And I pray every time I have a class in one of those rooms over there that'll house about 100 students. And they've got the chairs that are one bracket, and they've got a chair this way and a chair this way, and they swivel back and forth. And the wells are starting to break, and you go in, and the chairs have been taken off, and they stuck under the bench with this big yellow tape, caution tape, around the tabletop. And I understand that they're trying to salvage that stuff. And I pray every time I have a class over there, folks, that nobody's going to break one of those chairs and fall and break their necks or bones and so forth. And there goes another pile of my tax money. I'm a taxpayer in the college district, folks, and I really resent the waste that goes on over there. Okay, and all they do is they sit there and feed you nothing but a bunch of bovine excrement, along with a whole bunch of equine excrement. And then who gets holding the bag for all the pachyderm excrement that's excreted over there? Taxpayers, as I showed you in the beginning of the show. Okay, so new classrooms to include high-tech spaces. We can't keep computer systems going over there during the registration time. We don't have the security over there. We don't have anybody, to my knowledge, that knows anything about security. And the guy that was the head of the IT program had a degree, bachelor's degree in business. And I didn't see any proof that he had anything in IT. And now he's the vice president of information and all the rest of this stuff, and he's over maintenance. And maintenance doesn't do a damn thing over there except procrastinate. And they've got, I think, one full-time painter, maybe one full-time carpenter, and then they've got some porters running their butts off over there trying to keep everybody happy. And, Dr. Escamilla's sitting there, I guess, at a free breakfast downtown. He's never on campus anymore, that I can tell. And, he doesn't give a damn. But he's out there getting money for his buddies, for all these architects, engineers, contractors and stuff to build all these monuments to, I guess he wants his name on it. I'm not sure what his motive is. And he's only making about $340,000 a year. That's 3 or 4 times what some of the top paid faculty members are making. Okay, and they're over there all the time. They're not wherever. Oh, here it is. Escamilla and Valdar go over the edge for students. So I guess here's Dr. Escamilla going to rappel down a 20-story building along with that mascot that we really needed. Valdar, we're spending a fortune for that clown. And then I understand in last night's graduation they did the Viking clap again. I mean, it's grade school stuff. Social media post criticized Professor Clark in hot seat after Facebook comment. This was one of our professors over there that indicated that he would give extra credit if somebody would go vote for Beto O'Rourke for that political thing. And here he is, Beto O'Rourke visits Del Mar College. Big deal. I'm so damn sick and tired of federal politicians I could just vomit. Regents approved Southside plan. This was back in October, And it's got a picture of Mr. Gabe Rivas here. Architect calls new campus a safe place for students, a home. Well, they're out there and they're going to find out that I've been right for the last 10 years when I'm screaming and yelling that they bought 96 acres of swampland. And Marie Colson had a house up there, a slab that sunk into the mud out there when she owned it. And I'd drive by there after big rains every once in a while, and I'd look out into her pastures out there, and the cows and the horses were belly deep in water for days. And it hasn't changed. And then they say enrollment figure highest in 8 years, 12,222 students, the most since 2010. I don't think that one stood up, okay? We've been flatlined since 1992. I can prove that mathematically by their own numbers from Del Mar College, and I have proved it and I preached it. But we've actually decreased in students because out of the total number they say they've got, and they publish every year, for the last 3 years, that total count that they put out includes the dual credit students who don't even go to campus. They don't pay full tuition. Okay? They're in the high schools, and they're taking those classes. So I just thought I'd, give you that. And then we've got, like as I said, severe delays in the Public Information Act request. I'm going to start writing, and I need to write a couple of bitch letters, is what I call them, to the Texas Attorney General, because I'm sick and tired of them sitting over there and trying to cover up all of their mistakes and so forth and so on, and the money they spend for frivolous lawsuits and so forth. Okay? It's not frivolous lawsuit filed against them. They're being frivolous and think that it's frivolous, so they're just going to go over there and try to protect their butts and not get into hot water with the taxpayers, although they are, by trying to cover it up. I'll go back to the Manhattan Alley Cat. Then I got interested in an article that says judges learn about using firearms safely. I think it's a real crime in this world today, modern world, that a fantastic judge was my neighbor down the street here, and she's the 347th district judge. I'll let you look her up. She's a very, very polished and she's just a fantastic judge. I'm glad to have her there. And she's here learning how to get her license to carry class, concealed, so she can protect herself. And it's just a crime that we've got a bunch of Looney Tunes out there running around that would take a shot at somebody like that, and they have to go to the trouble to try to protect themselves. And I'm all for it. I'll give you a short story about my dad, the very highly decorated fighter pilot from World War II. This was during the Korean heyday, and they were flying all over the world. And he took me out at the age of 6 or 7 out to the base there at Turner Air Force Base in Albany, Georgia. And he said, here's a Colt 45 automatic. It's a service issue. And it felt like it weighed 500 pounds to me. Now, I'm 6, 7 years old, folks, and I've got this enormous slab of steel and lead in my hand. And he said, I'm going to line up these Coke bottles. And those were 6.5 ounce Coke bottles. And he put them bottom up. He put 10 of them out there on this little fence. And he said, when you can hit 9 out of 10 of those, it was a 10-round magazine in the pistol. He said, you're going to go home and you're going to put it under your pillow at night, and you're going to protect your mother and your brother from anybody that wants to invade that house while I'm gone for 6 to 12 months at a time. I don't carry one anymore. Then I'll jump to something else. We had a bunch of people around here that wanted the plastics thing out here. Was it M&G Plastics? And here was an article on 11/27/18. Small plastics a big deal in the ocean. Area Institute raising awareness of nurdles. Okay, and it shows a picture of a little girl with tweezers that has a little plastic ball in it. They're called nurdles in the business. Okay, if the volume of oil spilled into an ocean equal the mass of nurdles escaping annually into the Gulf of Mexico, the level of media attention and public outrage would be impossible to ignore. Amen to that. Okay, this is in the Caller Times, 11/27. Here's everything you need to know about this man-made material littering Texas beaches and beyond. Now, we had E.O. McQueen with the Clean Economy Coalition when M&G was coming in, and some of these other plastics companies wanted to come in. He went down to, I think it was South America somewhere, Yucatan or something, that made these little plastic nurdles. And he said they were floating around down there in the salt water everywhere and in the rivers and so forth. Oh, well, it's not going to be a big deal. We can make a fortune here with all of our contractors and all of our bankers and stuff, and we can bring these large companies in to make these plastic nurdles, and everything's going to be wonderful. So I guess, finally we were not inundated with that. But when people tell you, folks, that plastic bags are bad news, plastic nurdles are bad news, I've still got people that won't give me the time of day since I was the chair of the Clean Economy Coalition, and consequently you don't have the Las Brisas energy plant out here, courtesy of Chase Energy out of Houston, polluting you and killing, as the American Pediatric Association predicted, looking at the emissions that Las Brisas had published and tried to get in their permit from the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, TCEQ, they would have killed a minimum of 80 infants around here and a bunch of cardiac patients and everything else. But since that $2 or $3 billion plant was not done, then I get a lot of flack from people that own pipe and steel plants around here and companies and so forth and so on, and run banks and so forth and so on, because they wanted that plant here and they didn't give a damn about the health and welfare of our local residents, and they still don't. Okay, so I'm sorry that the group, and it wasn't just me, folks, we had at least 100 people that defeated Las Brisas Energy Center. A lot of manpower and a lot of sweat and a lot of money went into doing that. Okay, so I was just privileged to lead the band, so to speak. But of course, the downside of that is I'm accused of shutting that plant down, and I'll take that abuse. Okay. Now we've also got this Exxon SABIC site over in Ingleside, or no, I guess that's Portland, Gregory, Portland area. Okay, and they're going to, Exxon Mobil is going to put in this ethylene plant over there. And it says, as ethylene plant awaits permit, much is already being done. So they know it's going to be a good deal. Okay, and I hope that, and I really do need to go over there with those people from Portland and Gregory and so forth, and join their crowd and see if I can help them, like I had a lot of help getting rid of Las Brisas Energy Center. Okay. or not having it built. We finally convinced the state that this was going to be a very polluting and so forth affair here, and they did not grant the permit to build that place out here. And I was real surprised because that was in the Rick Perry days. You know, he was all for having his billionaire buddies make more money at the expense of 80 infants dying, and then the ungodly number of asthmatic patients and so forth and so on, respiratory problems, liver and so forth. So I think I'll get a hold. I know there is a group over there that's trying to fight this thing. It's just I've been so busy with Del Mar College teaching overloads and stuff. But now that I am, I don't know how to teach micro the right way, and somebody else is going to do that for us, then I'm going to have a bit more time not having to go in every weekend and make up solutions and culture dishes and all that good stuff. So give me some more time to go over here and see if I can help these people out. But see, it's already, as far as they're concerned, ExxonMobil and this Saudi Arabian company, you see how Saudi Arabians treat us, okay? Then, you know, you're on your own, folks, if you want to condone this. And I'll update you on anything that we can do through TCEQ to see if we can, you know, have that one taken care of. County sites terminal concerns, okay? The Astra, I guess it's Mahuro, owned Buckeye Partners, a subsidiary of Trafigura, I don't know, leaves the port of Corpus Christi loaded with crude. So what we want to do is build this great big huge port over here, you know, and facility terminal so we can load up all this oil that we're pumping out of the ground and ship it off somewhere else, and not use it here to lower our gas prices in town, because you know how the oil companies and gasoline makers and stuff, you know, if oil goes down, then they're going to be in trouble. They're not going to make near the profits that they would. And then that other thing, that Trafigura terminal opposition grows. I'm going to also have time to jump in there and raise hell about that. I think the port probably got some concerns about it. And then there's that one that was supposed to be offshore. I'm not sure that's the same one or not, but that's what we need 15 miles off the coast, is loading a bunch of oil through a pipeline that'll eventually leak, and then we'll have problems. And we didn't understand that we were going to have problems with that. Then I'm still concerned, growing up around airfields for most of my early days, and I have been around airports. I did obtain my pilot's licenses with my dad many years ago, so I know the flying business real well, and know of the military since he was in it for so many years. But I can't believe that CCISD is going to be anywhere near the Ox Field out here, or is it Cabinets Field, and build a campus out there. And I just, you know, it just horrifies me, the stupidity of these people. And all they want to do is be able to get their architects and engineers and contractors to make a bunch of money putting up another school that we don't need. I don't know what the enrollment out at Veterans Memorial is right now, but I know when they opened the doors, it was less than 50% occupied. And Southside may be growing, but it's not growing that fast. Okay? So you people have been screwed again. So if you want to go ahead, and it's worrisome that there's that $210 million bond, and you're going to put that thing over there on, you know, CCISD, endangered kids. That's total corruption. Okay? So here's the editorial from the Caller Times. Your vote won't save kids from crashing plane. So, you know, if they don't have the money to put it up, then what are you talking about? That didn't make a whole lot of sense for me. Okay? So, welcome to Corpus Christi, Texas. And then it says CCISD defends bond measure. And this is when they get into the accident potential zone, the APZ, and so forth and so on. And more lies and so forth and so on. But, you know, We also are having decreases in CCISD students, especially high school. Kids are saying, to heck with this. And I would like to interject the fact that since I am a Del Mar College faculty member, and I've been at this business for a number of years, that I am horrified by the lack of writing abilities, reading abilities, and mathematic abilities with graduates of CCISD. And I'm not. That's not a reflection of the students not doing their job. It's this politicians that run CCISD, and they've got the students. I mean, the teachers convinced that if they flunk a student or something, here comes mom and pa and uncle and aunt and kid, brothers and sisters, and they'll go over there and threaten to sue the independent school district. So because of that, then we're going to knuckle under, and that's the same thing that happened to that dear friend of mine, one of the most intelligent PhD nurses I've ever met in my life. Okay, and I've met a great number of them, and because 6 students thought that she was too tough, then she spent, a year or better full of nothing but pure hell over there, trying to defend herself, and they wanted to dismiss her, and I think she finally settled out. I'm not going to even ask for how much or whatever. But that's the way students are these days. You just go complain. So I invited him. My first day of class, I put Dr. Escamilla's telephone number up on the board, and his name is president. And I put the rest of the administration over there that are a bunch of nothing but two-bit bullies. And, they don't care about education. I'm convinced of that. So I'm sure one of these days they're going to go lock me out, and I can't. I just pray every day. I say, don't let that key work today. I'm so sick and tired of this, attempt to bully students and shut me up and everybody else over there. And, I know I don't have a PhD in community college administration. Therefore, I'm not going to make $300,000 and some odd a year. But, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. So, next show, what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather some more information with Public Information Act, and I'm going to keep harping on that. I will invite all of you to the next the Taxpayers Association meeting, if this airs before the first Saturday in January. We meet at the Small Planet Delicatessen at Staples and Saratoga. At 2 o'clock, they've got a little meeting room in the back, and we sit down and we hash things out. I'll publish the agenda, and we talk about things like recruitment of new members. We need some new members. Okay, and then we've got a call for Taxpayers Association to attend Del Mar College Board of Regents meetings and speak to the regents, which Mr. Gordy does, the vice president of our group. And he's been ushered out with the police and so forth, deputies and so forth, out of both city council meetings and Del Mar College for speaking his mind. And why they get upset, I don't know. He's the one that's paying the bills along with the rest of us taxpayers. But he's a very vocal individual. The city and Del Mar College cost for outside attorneys' fees. The Del Mar College budget is total confusion. Line item budget versus the enrollment. We've got the compliance of ADA. Our code enforcement here stinks, folks. And thanks to one Miles Risley, we don't have compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And I'm trying to get the Department of Justice to come down here and straighten that out, along with the TxDOT and so forth and so on. Code enforcement, those people are a joke here in Corpus Christi, Texas. All they want to do is go hassle you fine folks out there about having grass, and then they won't go over there and take down illegal signs and put us in jeopardy with the Texas Highway Beautification Act, as well as the federal. Well, I'm winding down here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. And my email is gsansing@gmail.com. Go into the YouTube with Jerry, Jerry, not G, but J for Jerry, and then Sansing, and you can pull up the shows. So I'm going to come back and show you that poinsettia and have a few last words. Okay, this beautiful plant is dedicated to my mother, Miss Connie, my deceased wife, Miss Lynn, and to a good friend of mine, Miss April 23. And I'm going to wish everyone out there happy holidays, and have a good time and have a safe holiday season. And I'll have the shows done during that period of time. So keep an eye out and watch them and have a good time. Thank you.